So, we're less than 2 months out from the election in November, and Bernie Sanders finally has this revelation that Joe Biden actually has to give people a reason to vote for him besides just criticizing and attacking Donald Trump and not being Donald Trump. Just kind of frankly pretty hilarious coming from Bernie Sanders at this point, because again, he dropped out of the race very, very quickly after, endorsed Joe Biden without getting any type of major policy concession from him whatsoever. No Medicare for all, no tuition-free college, no canceling student loan debt, no Green New Deal, no cutting the military-industrial complex budget. I mean, and then at the time, Bernie was saying, well, if you don't... But he was voter shaming at the time. The same thing now he was saying, Biden actually has to give people a reason to vote. It would have been probably a little bit more effective if you used actually some of your massive political leverage at the time to not throw your support behind Joe Biden until, I don't know, maybe you get him to support Medicare for all because we're living in the worst pandemic in 100 years, and tens of millions of people have lost their employer-sponsored health care during this pandemic because it's also created an economic crisis that we have not seen in this country since the Great Depression. Maybe at least get him to capitulate on one of those major issues, Bernie. And again, I would say probably upwards 80-90% of people supported Bernie Sanders for the policies that he championed. Again, Medicare for all, tuition-free college, canceling student loan debt, Green New Deal, living wage, reducing the military-industrial complex budget, getting money out of politics, etc. Okay? Complete antithesis of Joe Biden and his campaign. Bernie's right. Yeah, Joe Biden does need to give people a reason to vote for him, but why come out and say that now? Maybe, again, use some of your leverage. You could have actually maybe pushed Biden on these issues and said, F off, Joe. I know you're my friend and all, and I kept saying that repeatedly during the debates, during interviews. Still true. I still consider you a good friend. But you know what? We're living in a pandemic. You said you would veto Medicare for all. If you're not willing to come out and support that right now, I'm just going to hold out my endorsement. I'm going to pull, Elizabeth Warren in 2016 did that. She didn't endorse anybody. I'm going to pull an Elizabeth Warren from 2016. So you could pound sand if you're not willing to support Medicare for all during a pandemic, Joe. It saves money. It saves lives. It's the right thing to do from a fiscal and a moral and ethical perspective, and you can go fuck yourself if you're not willing to support that. But nope, dropped out, endorsed Joe right away with no policy concessions. Bernie doesn't have any leverage right now. But again, he's right, but why are you doing this right now when you dropped out several months ago, Bernie? I mean, for fuck's sake. Because I think he's seeing that, yeah, actually, Biden just not being Donald Trump, that might not be enough. It might not be enough. Again, as Hedges, others have pointed out, Bernie's just a sheepdog for the Democratic Party and tries to herd his settlers, or his supporters, I should say, in 2016 behind Clinton, even though she more or less didn't support any of the same huge progressive policy platforms that Bernie supported. Same thing now, and now he's saying, well, might not be enough. So let's listen to Bernie in his own words here.
With just 51 days until election
Yeah,
this weekend,
51.
reports emerged of a potential rift between Democrats. The Washington Post reporting that Democratic primary runner-up Bernie Sanders has expressed his concerns privately over the Biden camp's approach to financial or economic policy matters and their appeal to more progressive voters. Sanders, the independent Vermont senator, quote, has told associates...
And I don't like it's. Frankly, I think that's kind of BS. Bernie saying he is a independent senator when he's in lockstep with the Democrats, 95% of the time, isn't willing to call out Democratic leadership when they sell out the working class, whether that's Pelosi in the House or Schumer in the Senate. Bernie's a Democrat. He's not independent.
Is at serious risk of coming up short in the November elections if he continues his vaguer, more centrist approach, according to the people who spoke on the condition of anonymity to describe sensitive talks. Senator Bernie Sanders joins me now. Good morning, Senator. Good to see you. Thank you for joining me. You've obviously seen these reports. Are they true?
No, of course they're not true. I mean, look, what I have said privately is what I have said publicly. And that is, I think Biden's in an excellent position to win this election.
It's not. The polls are continuing to tighten and get closer in the swing states. And again, all Biden has to offer is that he is not Trump. And frankly, might not be enough. But 51 days from the election... What the fuck, Bernie? Why not hold Biden's feet to the fire when you dropped out before you had endorsed him? That is when you had all your leverage. You've been campaigning since you dropped out. You have no leverage right now. This isn't going to do anything. I wish it would. It's not. There's a reason that the Democratic establishment, people like Obama behind the scenes, I should say, pulling the strings to make sure Bernie wasn't the nominee, because they wanted a neoliberal centrist like Joe Biden who would protect the status quo, who wouldn't advocate and fight for universal health care, even though the United States is the only developed country in the world who doesn't have it. We have tens of thousands of people that die each year, tens of thousands more that go bankrupt due to medical debt. It would save money. It would save lives. It makes sense on every level. But because the Democratic Party, the establishment, and the elites are bought and paid for by the pharmaceutical companies, the for-profit health insurance companies, that's why they propped up Joe Biden, because he doesn't support universal health care. And you could keep going down the list. That's why they propped him up, okay?
I think we've got to do more as a campaign than just go after Trump. Trump is a disaster. I think most people know it. But we also have to give people a reason to vote for Joe Biden. And Joe has some pretty strong positions on the economy. And I think we should be talking.
Such as, please elaborate. What are these strong conditions? Yeah, and Biden has said nothing would fundamentally change if he was elected president. And there's already talk that he wants to institute possibly some austerity measures during this great level depression crisis that we're facing right now due to the pandemic.
About that more than we have. Now, we have done, Ali, 8 battleground states virtual rallies, talking to several million.
Bernie Sanders has been doing more work to get Joe Biden elected than Joe Biden is doing for himself at this point.
And I think what people want to hear is what Joe is going to do to raise the minimum wage.
Well, it's like, I mean, just like the other day, Joe Biden came out and talked about, how the wildfires on the west that have enveloped the West Coast, leaving the West Coast to have some of the worst, literally the worst air quality in the world, are a sign that climate change is an existential crisis and we have to address it, and just platitudes and word salad without getting into any type of policy that can maybe help, like, I don't know, a Green New Deal, which Biden doesn't support. He doesn't even support a ban on fracking, for fuck's sake. I mean, Joe Biden has to rely on the platitudes and the word salads and the vagueness because he doesn't support any of these policies. Okay, Bernie? So, and Bernie, at this point, Bernie is part of the problem. He is not part of the solution, and that's sad to say, and I probably should have came to that realization sooner than I have, but I mean, it's a fact in my opinion.
A $15 an hour minimum wage. What he's going to do to make sure that we create millions of good-paying jobs.
And probably within the margin of error, within the margin of error, within the margin of error. It's close. And again, if Biden had any sense, he would have came out and supported Medicare for all as soon as he had the nomination locked up, and I think he would be ahead by leaps and bounds, frankly, because again, 80-90% of Democratic voters support that. That would get people excited to vote, or tuition-free college, canceling student loan debt, emergency UBI, Green New Deal as our planet is literally burning. Any one of those things would have excited a huge chunk of Bernie supporters and people on the left in general to want to vote for Biden. Biden's not going to change any of those policy positions to the left in 51 days. He said that he might want to increase the military's budget, for God's sakes, okay? He wants police to get more money. He doesn't want a ban on fracking. He would veto Medicare for all. Those type of policy positions are not going to excite more people. They're not going to get more people to vote for you.
This country, and he has a very strong plan for the infrastructure. He knows that we can create jobs combating climate change, which God knows we need to do, seeing what's going on in the West Coast right now. They want equal pay for equal work. They want us to expand healthcare to as many people.
You notice how when he's giving these interviews, he doesn't even talk about Medicare for all anymore. He's just, well, Biden wants to, he uses the, centrist neoliberal talking point. Biden wants to expand healthcare. Expand healthcare. What does that mean? He wants a fucking public option that's just a big giveaway to the, creates a two-tiered healthcare system. It doesn't fix the fundamental problem that we should not have a profit motive in taking care of people and taking care of people's health and well-being. I mean, goddamn. Literal sheepdog, Bernie Sanders right here, for fuck's sake.
Also, lower the cost of prescription drugs. I think those are some of the issues that people want to hear a little bit more from the Biden campaign about.
Yes, but they don't want to hear about a fucking public option. 80-90+% of Democratic voters support universal health care. Okay? They don't support a fucking public option. They want everybody to be covered. They want to be able to go to whatever doctor they choose, not have to worry about if it's in network, out of network. They don't have to worry about if they're going to go bankrupt. Alright, so there's Bernie sheepdogging for Joe. Yeah, Latino groups warn that Biden's sluggish outreach to their voters could hurt November. I mean, his outreach in general has been abysmal, and I think even I saw a thing like on some of his website stuff hasn't even been updated past when the Democratic primaries were over, like several months ago. NBC poll from last weekend in Florida: Trump's beat Biden with all men, all white people, whites with no college degree, and Trump is ahead of Biden with all Latinos. Weekend to beat Trump in Florida. We all know someone in Florida. To the phones, former group, Michiganders for Florida. But again, Bernie's right, but I think he's a little bit late saying this, and he doesn't have any leverage right now. Again, like I said, he's been campaigning more for Joe Biden to become president than Joe Biden has been doing for Joe Biden. I wish Biden and Kamala Harris were the radicals that the right and the conservatives like to paint them as being. Wouldn't that be nice if they actually supported policies that disproportionately positively impacted the working people, the working class in the United States? They don't, though. That's why they propped up Joe Biden. Peace.